All right, everyone, welcome back to the leading political podcast in the country. Thank you so much again sa lahat ng mga nagsumuporta sa atin. Of course, a recent episode of ours, may new ranking na naman tayo, milestone top 6 in the country of all episodes. I think ito yung Harry Roque episode, Manhunt edition, right? So I'm not surprised it did pretty well. But hopefully, continue na lang natin itong momentum na to para we can move in the right direction. Of course, isa sa mga dahilan na our podcast is doing well is, of course, the collaboration we have with all sorts of great friends and folks, including, of course, recently with the great folks, the Cool Pals. And of course, we look forward to more collaboration with folks across the whole Spotify world. So abangan nyo, there'll be more and more updates on that front. So thank you again for the momentum and support. Now, obviously, even the bigger reason why we have this show and why this show has been, thank God, doing well is, or relatively well, is because of the great guests we have. And in fact, one of the reasons sobrang proud ako dito sa ginagawa natin is napapatawa natin lahat. At sa mga top 3 na pinaka-proud ako na napatawa ko, kasi kanina kami ni Lord De Vera, nagko-compare kami. Mas nagsasmile ba si Justice Carpio with me or with him? So nagko-compare kami ng mga notes. But isa sa mga napakagaling na guest na proud ako na napatawa natin ay ito. Professor of Practice and retired admiral, pero for us, the admiral, Romel Jude Ong. Thank you very much, Admiral, for joining us and for still remaining my friend.
Thank you, Richard, for having me again. Good evening.
Salamat again, salamat. So kanina pala, we had to redo this yung pala, napunta sa earbuds ko yung mga sinasabi natin. Now, Admiral, there's a lot that we have to discuss today. Kasama dyan, of course, yung mga latest development na nangyari ngayon sa West Philippine Sea, especially sa may Sabina Shoal. I'll try to use na lang the neutral term kasi mamaya mag-away tayong Chinese term ba or Philippine term. Obviously, Skoda, we can talk about that. But before going there, Admiral Ong, I just want to ask you again, obviously, you are a specialist on foreign policy, naval affairs. But again, from the perspective of sharp power and all, have you found anything revealing with the latest hearings from Alice Go and her quote-unquote extradition or repatriation of the country? Are there new red flags that emerge from some of the hearings or some of the coverage of at least the hearings that you have come across? What is your read of the Alice Go situation? And what has changed, if any, since last time we discussed this interesting former mayor of Bamban?
Okay, it validates an assessment we made around 2013. Okay, that was just after yung Scarborough Shoal standoff, if you remember that, in 2012. So after that, around a few months later, we're trying to look at, we made an assessment of, okay, ano yung vulnerabilities natin, saan tayo tatamaan. Okay, so number one, we have assessed that the center of gravity ng Pilipinas is actually the presidency. Okay, not the person, but the entire ecosystem that supports that leadership role. Pangalawa, yung nakita namin yung vulnerability natin in terms of yung saan tayo magpapanagpo ng China. Ang assessment namin is we're not looking at a scenario na merong PLA, RD na mag-invade ng Pilipinas o lulusubin yung Luzon. That's way off. Ang nakita namin, ang most probable scenario would be ang labanan will be within our own bureaucracy. Okay. So within our own bureaucracy. For the reason number one, inherent na yun in a liberal democratic state na open society tayo. So that in itself creates that opening. Pangalawa, we have, as we all know, an imperfect bureaucracy. Corruption is endemic at some point. And nakita namin, ito yung vulnerability na exploit ng China. Okay? So dito, sa incident with Alice Go, it reinforces yung assessment na corruption within our bureaucracies will pave the way for this type of loopholes. Okay? So obviously dito, the question is, how can this person of dubious citizenship become Filipino, and at worst is becomes a local official. Okay? So yun yung nakikita natin. And how many Alice Go are still there outside na hindi natin nakikita?
Yeah, Admiral, I mean, I don't know. Again, you tell me, you're the military man between the two of us, but I found yung encounter, yung meeting, fan meet, kumbaga, ni Abalos, DILG Secretary Abalos and Alice Go, and I was quite impressed by how she immediately dominated the space. Didn't even give Abalos a chance to establish his authority. Hi, kamusta po kayo? Naalala niyo kasama tayo nung elections, nag-picture tayo. Di ba? Hindi nakamakapwesto, di ba? Ay, ganun ba? Ganun, di ba? So parang sabi ko, parang may training tong babaeng to. Ang galing, di ba? Tapos immediately, pag cute-cute na siya, ganun-ganon. And do you think she may have some training? Does this come with being member of Triad or Pogo World, or maybe she's a double agent, triple agent, or medyo lutang lang yung mga katapat niya, so she took advantage of that as any smart, let's just say, business-minded woman / former mayor?
Well, maybe, it's yung social skills niya tend to dominated that situation. Tsaka tayo naman bilang normally Filipino males tend to be, alam mo na, mapagbigay tayo o mapag-ano tayo.
May Achilles heel.
So medyo that I mean, I would say na medyo awkward pero it's still normal, kumbaga.
So you don't want to read too much into it, but in a sense, they encounter that fan meet, according to some, proves your point, because Alice Go, actually, aka Alice Go, Huaping Go, she has picture with everyone. She has picture, given na yan, si Harry Manhunt Roque, Amy Marcos, BBM, Digong, right? She has picture with practically all the who's and who of Philippine politics, right? So it's so easy for her to just pull strings. Oy, di ba naalala niyo kasama tayo nung isa araw? Naalala niyo? Pumunta kayo sa birthday namin, like, and she's really leveraging that because in a way, diba, she's my Venn diagram eh. Ang dami niya mga ka-overlap. And for all we know, they have all dirt on each other, right? So it creates some sort of a awkward, weird situation kasi walang healthy distance between Alice Go, who perhaps corrupted all the way her way into power, and much of our current political establishment.
Ano siya, she was establishing yung what we call yung bona fides niya, yung kanyang identity or legend niya. Because of those pictures. Pinapakita niya na I am part of this world. Ito yung makilala ko. Baka naman most likely unwitting yun. I mean, if somebody approaches you with a camera or a cell phone and asks for a picture, most likely na may gagrant ko yun. Diba? So, in this case, so ang lesson din is be careful who you take pictures with. Baka bumalik sa'yo later on.
Pero yung iba hindi nakipicture lang. Kasama pa sila sa kotse, napaka-sweet nila. You know what I'm saying? Like, just look at the Amy picture with her. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that was like a nakipicture lang or nagpakit lang or whatever. So, I don't know. It looks like between the two of us, Admiral, you're a little bit more sanguine on this. I think some of us are probably more worried na maybe there's more to this. But I like this conversation. It's still an ongoing debate. Did something new come out of the recent hearings?
Now, assuming I follow your track, no, that would fall under an agent of influence. If I follow your track, that pattern would be she is an agent of influence, and ang object niya is to go through the ladders of our political structure and kaibiganin yung mga key personalities. I mean, those are not picture yung mga personalities yun. Those are political families with major influence in our domestic politics, of course.
Yun nga eh. Obviously, speaking of influence agents, speaking of the Chinese Minister of Security Services, the MSS and all, recently, of course, a Chinese journalist had to leave the country kasi na-booking na siya, diba? The intelligence services also leaked this to the media. Rappler in particular had in detail, I think this is Mr. Zhang, if I'm not mistaken, who worked for this kunyaring Shanghai based newspaper, which on the surface had plausible deniability, a degree or two of separation from the Chinese state media. So kunyari private siya. But I think for anyone who did their due diligence and also look at his background, right? He was the Washington bureau chief of also this Shanghai based newspaper, and many people were saying na perhaps pinadala siya from Washington to Manila is because Manila was seen as the new frontline state, kind of the new Berlin or Austria, right? At the onset of the Cold War 70, 80 years ago. Ikaw, Admiral, how extensive do you think this phenomenon could be? That is this Mr. Zhang, if I'm not mistaken, is he just the tip of the iceberg, or perhaps he's just one of the big shots that was exposed and had to recalibrate?
Okay, from what I read, from what I understood is na-discover na siya sa US eh. Kaya siya umalis din doon eh. Okay. Ang pinagtatakaan ko, bakit nakarating siya dito? Wala man lang tayong kumbaga, hindi man lang tayo pinagsabihan ng ating alay. Okay. Na, may itong tao na to, galing dito sa amin to, na-discover na namin to. Andyan ngayon, most likely, gagawin niya yung ginawa niya rito sa amin sa Amerika. Okay. So that's one. Pangalawa, part ng ng tools of statecraft is espionage. Okay. To get to know yung countries that you have major interest. Of course, China has major interest in the Philippines. So we expect this kind of people, most likely pinalitan na yon. Meron na yang replacement na chief of station dito sa Pilipinas. So, o baka nga may at that time na nangyari yon, nung na-discover siya, baka meron na talaga siya alternate dito na immediately nag-take over na. We don't know. Okay? But that's part of the game yan kumbaga. That somebody would be spying on you.
Yeah, I mean, of course it's a given, but siguro you're looking at also the quality, the magnitude, and also the audacity, right? You're saying this is a person na markado na kaagad ng mga Amerikano, pumunta pa sa Philippines, but he came to the Philippines during Digong's time and during pandemic. So I think he just felt he could get away with it because, I mean, Digong, where were we a wild east country during Digong in terms of infiltration? Do you think Digong just opened up the floodgates to our friends from China?
Well, given yung personalities that are in the immediate circle ni former president of Chinese descent that are also being identified in some of the illegal activities that are being uncovered during the investigation sa Senate and Congress. So hindi na hindi malayo yun na we opened the flood during the previous administration, opened the floodgates of these kind of people coming in.
Yeah, yun nga nakakatakot. Kaya a part of me is wondering how deep does this go? Because speaking of Alice Go, I mean, some were wondering maybe she's the perfect distraction, right? While everyone is trying to juice out the moment, I mean, kung sino-sinong Zarzuela, kung sinong Epal, yung isa pa si Jingo iba, nagtatanong pa kung sinong boyfriend, you're actually giving perhaps the more high-value targets time to, to recalibrate or even leave the country and into safety, no? Do you think medyo sumusobra na itong Alice Go? It has become sensationalized na at some point you have to just leave it to the security services and the courts, the proper courts to handle the case?
Yeah, I think she needs to be properly interviewed, quote-unquote interviewed, to extract yung proper information from her. Kasi ang nakita ko dito, pwede nang i-turn around yung audience eh. In that setting, yung hearing na yon, pwede niyang i-turn around yung audience eh. And make it almost ridiculous na yung hearing. At some point,
figure na siya, diba? I mean, she's like a celebrity na.
Oh, yeah. So at some point, may once you reach yung point na, okay, we've gotten as far as we can get from this person, turn over mo na sa, either sa court or sa security services for proper disposition.
I agree with you. I don't know if you've seen it. I saw this video sa mga eskwela ng kabataan. Meron silang parang, I don't know, it's like an event whereby yung mga sikat na figures, parang yung look-alike, diba? So isa Kaloy, yung isa Digong, wala. Tapos yung isa, yung pinaka-first is Alice Go. Parang kamukha ni Alice Go. And then like kids are laughing and all, like, wow, you imagine this first. Sabi ko kung hindi na-prove na ito ay hindi Filipino, baka tumakbong Senado, nanalo pa yan. At I'm not surprised na naki-selfie na lang yung mga immigration officer and all sa kanya. Nag-fan meet pa sila in Indonesia. Because I don't think in the Philippines we have the we're equipped to distinguish between notoriety and fame. Medyo yung the lines are blurry, no?
Totoo yun, totoo yun.
It's an obsessive celebrity culture, to put it as neutral as I can get without being judged or mabash tayo ng mga kaibigan natin. Now, Admiral, let's talk about the case of Quiboloy. Again, don't worry, I had General Torre on this show to talk about the specifics of that. And I know you're from the AFP, you're not from the police forces, but as an outsider, as a non-police person, but as a strategy person, what is your outsider understanding of the strategy employed, and what are the capture of Quiboloy could say something about perhaps the growing sophistication of the Philippines domestic in law enforcement agencies, or is General Torre perhaps exceptional case, or do you get what I'm saying, where I'm coming from? Kasi di ba nung dati nag-usap tayo, Teves, Bantag, Quiboloy, lahat tumatakas na eh. Parang naging mukhang ewan ng Pilipinas. We look like a banana republic. But now, medyo nag-hat-trick na, di ba? Nag-back to back to back, di ba? What is your read as retired na kayo? You're no longer in the AFP, but what is your read of that situation? The whole Quiboloy operations from a tactical, logistical standpoint, and broader lessons for law enforcement.
Well, obviously, ang key ron was si General Torre, yung leadership na exercise niya in that situation. No? Tapos, it's an environment na politically charged, and he was able to rise above that challenge. No? So yun yung nakita kong very key doon. Then yung result niya. But of course, I believe na whatever happens, he was supported by the political leadership dito sa Manila. So he has that license to do what he needs to be done. And he has all the support that he needs. So I think that fortifies yung kanyang resolve. I don't think na without that political support or political backing dito sa Manila, he would have that resolve para iayusin yun at saka itapusin yung problema na yun. So again, this shows you na professional officers or professional members of the security service, be it in the AFP or PNP, can do their job properly. But ang critical dito is yung yung mandate na binibigay sa kanya para i-perform yun. And if you go to it yung the other side of it, you would understand why it's very difficult to perform their jobs kung yung political environment naman is kontra sa'yo. Okay? So dito parang perfect storm in the sense na meron siyang political mandate o backing dito sa Manila. Then you have the leadership personality that was exercised by General Torre. And of course, yung support na binigay sa kanya in terms of logistics, being personnel and equipment para matapos yung problema na yun.
So yun nga yung worry ko, is this an exceptional case, or this could be beginning of a, I don't know, new kind of a more professional, effective kind of kasi yun nga, obviously this was not a political demolition job or anything like that. It's just the administration, said, do your job. This is the right job. I mean, to what degree does the fact that the US wanted Quiboloy is also important here?
Alam mo, constant dito is, I believe as I said earlier, yung professionalism ng security sector, be it AFP or PNP, nandyan yan, sustainable yun eh. But kung ang political leadership o yung political environment is dysfunctional or does not promote an environment that these people can perform their jobs properly based on the Constitution and our laws, then doon nagkakaproblema. Ina-navigate, kahit professional ka, you will find a way, you need to navigate that minefield, political minefield para magawa mo yung trabaho mo eh. So it's either kung talagang napakahirap ng tinatahak mo landas, mo yan, give up ka na lang. Sige, hayaan mo na. Kasi there's no point eh. Kung pader yung binabangga mo, sayang yung effort mo. So you bide your time. Time mo na maging conducive yung environment na you can already perform your job. But again, kung wala namang pader dyan at very supportive yung system sa'yo, then of course, madaling gawin yung trabaho mo.
Yun nga, to the degree that you can share, how does that inform or how did that impact your term in office when you were still in Navy during Digong's time? I mean, to the degree that you can share, paano na navigate ng AFP and Philippine Navy yung Digong's China policy, West Philippine Sea policy? Considering it was essentially against your mandate, some would say.
Well, of course, yung number one dyan problem is yung number one, hindi ka pwede magpatrolya doon sa West Philippine Sea or beyond your territorial waters. Obviously, that's, sa akin personally, that's already a violation of in constitutional mandate ng the armed forces to protect the country. Okay? So parang sinabi na sa'yo, huwag mo gawin yung trabaho mo. So you find loopholes in that, you find loopholes to be able to perform your job. But ang problema dyan, once na-discover na nakita ka ng loophole, eventually napaplug yun because there will be a succeeding directive. Okay, bawal mong gawin yan. So you look for another loophole para ma-perform yung job. Again, ang kung talagang pader yung kabangga mo, you bide your time. 6 years lang yan. At some point, mag-change naman yan. So you look at the opportunity to correct the mistakes made because yung constrained yung environment mo. Self-correct yung institutions.
Right. I mean, it's only 6 years unless it's no longer 6 years, right? I mean, it was not impossible for Digong to go beyond 6 years or for another Duterte to end up there. So I think perhaps we're a bit lucky. But I completely understand. You have to choose your battle. You have to be strategic. Mahirap talaga magtrabaho sa gobyerno, di ba? Lalo kung magulo yung gobyerno o yung ginagawa ng gobyerno ay hindi tugma, no, doon sa ating saligang batas or yung mandato ng iyong institusyon, no. So those are the difficulties of working in a country like the Philippines, especially amid the intensifying US-China Cold War and intensifying disputes in the West Philippine Sea. Pag-usapan natin West Philippine Sea, Admiral. So what is the status right now? Because we have friends, yung mga makipiling chief natin dyan sa yung isang newspaper dyan, sabi na nag-surrender na daw tayo. China outsmarted the Philippines. Wala na. Sabina Shoal has been lost to China. Anong masasabi natin sa mga henyong yan, yung mga makapiling henyo na yan? Na kunyari,
number one, I don't think we have lost anything. Kasi yung Sabina Shoal, andyan lang yan. Okay. The reality is, there is what we call in the Navy, yung tyranny of distance. Okay. Yung tyranny of distance. And the tyranny of distance is in our favor. Mas malapit ang Sabina Shoal sa Pilipinas kaysa sa China. If you're tracking yung situation sa Scarborough Shoal, for the past week, I think, ang nandun lang is siguro, I think, isang Coast Guard vessel lang inaiwan. Okay. There was a point in time, bumalik, naging one Coast Guard vessel and I think mga 6 na militia. But the last report I got, I think, yesterday or today was isang Coast Guard vessel lang inaiwan. Bakit? Kasi may bagyo Masama yung panahon. So at the end of the day, it's kung man versus nature yan, nature always wins. Okay. Now, dahil wala sila ron sa Scarborough Shoal, nandito sila ngayon sa baba, sa may Palawan, conglomerate. Okay. Sa ating pa rin yan, it just a temporary setback. Okay. And it was a necessary setback kasi pagod na yung tao, may problema na yung barko, you really need to lead out. But of course, tactics-wise, I would have done something differently to make sure na hindi nangyari yun. But, nasa labas tayo, we can only do so much na re-recommenda. But at the end of the day, they have better information than we have inside government.
Okay, Admiral, i-real talk natin kasi yung mga DDS natin kaibigan tsaka yung mga makapili dyan na kaibigan natin, excited na sila na sabihin na talo tayo sa China kasi of course mahal na mahal nilang China. Mahal na mahal nila yung bayan nila. Of course hindi China ibig ko sabihin at sabi na semantics lang daw sinasabi natin, whatever you want to call it. What is your understanding, Admiral, of this status? What are the facts on the ground? First of all, ano tong Sabina Shoal? What is the distance from the Philippines? And more importantly, who has administrative control over it? De facto administrative control. And how do we make sure the Chinese don't take over?
Okay. From a legal standpoint, that's ours because it's within our exclusive economic zone. In terms of distance, actually it's much nearer than Second Thomas Shoal sa Mainland Palawan. Okay. I would agree that tactically they have the advantage kasi they have more ships. Okay? Because of the quantity factor, they have flexibility in terms of swarming or surging their vessels wherever they need it or wherever they want it placed or deployed. So dito, we don't have the luxury of number of ships. Okay? So it's a capacity issue palagi.
But in terms of administrative control, do we have anything there? I mean, do you have any facility, any basic thing like Pag-asa or Second Thomas Shoal? Or para ba itong panatag, the Scarborough Shoal, Baho de Mansilog na pwede makuha sa atin any moment? Like, what are the ways by which we have some administrative control so that we can have a basis for Americans to come in just in case?
Wala tayo, if you're talking of a permanent or semi-permanent facility or presence, then wala eh. Okay. But if you backtrack dito, no, I think what triggered yung Chinese reaction was yung takot nila na we're doing another Sierra Madre scenario dito. Yung i-ground natin yung Teresa Magbanwa. But of course, that's not logical in the sense na bago barko yun. Eh. The Coast Guard is still using.
You don't park your Lamborghini as a squatter car, diba?
Okay. Pero if you look at it, Richard, no, it validates yung earlier discussions natin, I think twice in different podcasts mo about using larger ships, okay, for this type of operation. So the Teresa Magbanwa actually proved my point that if you have a bigger ship, it's more or less insulated from yung tactics na ginagamit ng China, gray zone tactics na ginagamit ng China. At nahirapan sila i-dislodge eh. Doon ang solusyon nila doon, binangga-bangga nila. Okay. Ang problema natin is nung nag-blockade na sila, doon na nahirapan na tayo i-sustain yung situation doon, yung resupply. Doon na tayo nagka-problema. But Magbanwa lasted for what, 5 months? That's a pretty hard thing to do. Okay.
Since April, no? Medyo sarado din yung mga tao natin, personal natin. So do you think the return right now to the Philippines was more for R&R? Was just legitimate R&R because they were really marooned down there, well beyond their original mission, essentially limits coordinate?
Well, number one is yung human factor. 5 months is 5 months. Okay. Pangalawa, logistics-wise, obviously, yung provision, lalo na yung food provisions mo, magdi-deplete yun. Pangatlo, yung fuel provisions mo, as you keep running, eventually, madi-deplete yun. And lastly would be yung maintenance ng barko. Okay. Walang pinag-iba sa kotse mo eh. Kailangan yan, at some point, igagrahe mo yan sa kasa for PMS o preventive maintenance. Eh. Ganon din naman, ganun kalaking barko. Okay. Ang siguro, they could have rectified that situation by shifting. Okay? Kasi I was thinking, although I don't know where that, yung sister ship niya, pwede sanang i-alternate yun. And they could have alternated that much earlier. Let's say,
ngayon, yung rotation.
2 months, naka-andun yung Teresa Magbanwa, pinalitan na nila. That would have been more sustainable. And I think that would not have triggered yung reaction ng China, which is yung pinikisip nila, uy, baka isa-Sierra Madre itong barko ng Coast Guard. Okay. So anyway, that's hindsight eh. So siyempre pag hindsight, perfect
yeah,
yan.
I know, but it's not like kahapon lang tayo mag-start makipagbakbakan sa mga Chino or makipag at least, cat and mouse game dyan. I mean, matagal na yung nakita natin itong swarming strategy nila, yung tinatawag mo na mission kill, which I always quote and of course I make reference to you, Admiral. So now na wala na yung Teresa Magbanwa temporarily and it's doing its R&R, who is there? Do we have anyone there to make sure? Kasi di ba, wag natin kalimutan, yung dahilan na pinadala yung Teresa Magbanwa there is because parang may discover tayo na parang may potential nag-artificial island building na naman yung mga Chino. Like di ba, there was something geological going on there. Some environment samples came back that were troubling. And tayo ang natakot na baka yung mga Chino kano na nang gagawin nila. Katulad ng Sandy K, di ba? Na-worry din natin, i-reclaim nila yan, tapos ididikit nila, tapos mamaya kawawa naman tayo sa Pag-asa. So, what is your understanding of that? So, you're all obviously responding to an increasingly impossible situation. The good thing is, umalis din yung mga Chinese 70, di ba? Yung mga maritime militia forces at saka Coast Guard nila, and more than 200 around the area sa may Kalayaan. So, what do you think is next phase? Do we have someone there? Is this just round one and we're going to see more of this? I just want to think 2 steps ahead, Admiral, while also making sense of what is the latest thing happening right now.
My understanding based on media releases from government is may kapalit si Teresa Magbanwa doon. Now, whether nakarating na o papunta pa lang or at some point darating na yun doon, we don't know. Okay? But I think that the realization is hindi mo pwedeng iwan yan. Balikan natin yung analogy ko before, yung sa basketball game. No? So dito kasi hindi pwedeng wala kang player support. In this case, wala kang player sa sabing show. Kailangan meron. Otherwise, you're defaulting the game in the sense na open siya, hinayaan mo na lang yung ano. At the end of the day, constant patrol pa rin yung solution. Kahit hindi ganun karami yung barko natin, they should be on patrol. They should be present in those areas na China is contesting our legal entitlement to those areas. Okay? Kasi if we don't patrol them, that's essentially giving up those areas. Yeah. That's the narrative that's the opposite what we're projecting.
But yun nga you're the person who talked about the threat of mission kill, diba? I think we had a podcast last year pa yata, sabi ko, gaano ka sustainable ito? Yes, they are not drowning our vessels. Totoo naman na hindi pa tayo binabaril na all out, na kaya nga hindi na-activate pa yung Mutual Defense Treaty. Pero, binabangga tayo, dinadamage tayo. Ngayon kailangan natin mag-R&R, limited yung pool ng high-quality warships natin. Are we reaching the critical threshold kung saan we may need to look at alternatives, including itong proposed joint escort patrols with Americans? What do you think about that? Kasi the response I'm seeing are also very different. Diba? Si Bronner is saying, wala pa tayo dyan, last resort na yan. He wants to insist na Philippines can do it on its own. Justice Carpio obviously is pushing for it na, let's do it na. And then of course you have some even like Admiral Lopez coming all out and saying, actually kailangan natin pag-aralan na naman yung Mutual Defense Treaty. Not too different from my understanding, Defense Secretary Lorenzana back in the day was talking about it. I had 3 separate interviews with Secretary Lorenzana back in the day when I was with GMA Network. So I want to understand how you're seeing this ongoing debate, or at least seeming different positions, or maybe not different, but different layers of this conversation on this issue. Are we reaching the point of na kailangan na talaga mag-step in ng mga aliado natin, or do you think we still can handle this? We still have enough that the mission has not been completely essentially hindi tayo nag-decapitate or completely na-undermine yung ability natin to sustain present?
Actually, ang sagot ko dyan is another question. Okay. Why are we so keen on having the Americans enter to the fray when in fact, let's say for let's say in theory, i-invoke mo yung Mutual Defense Treaty or you went into Article 4 si that situation na they will come in. Ano ba papadala nila? Diba US Navy rin? Diba? Hindi pa nga natin in-involve yung Philippine Navy dito sa scenario tapos magdidiretso ka na sa Amerikano.
Advance mag-isip.
And hindi, which I've been saying before, hindi pa nga natin in-exhaust all yung resources natin. Then, ang solution natin is tawagin yung Amerikano. I mean, parang tumalon ka in terms of yung solving the problem by looking at the solution from somewhere else, when in fact, you need to look for yung resources mo. Ano pa yung mga capacities na hindi pa ginagamit in this type of
the toolkits mo. So essentially, you don't jump from a knife to a bazooka, right? There's the pistol, there's the M16, there's sniper, ganun. Now let us pakita natin sa mga nakikinig sa atin, Admiral, yung mga hindi nakaabot. Kasi di ba we talked about many things we could do. Minsan inisip ko nga mga Amerikano ba, in-offer nila yan para hindi talaga tayo tulungan directly. For instance, di ba, pinag-usapan natin, they can give us fast boat patrols, patrol vessels, di ba? They could, well, you disagreed with this, but at least one proposal is they could, give us some of their newly retired, I don't know, warships or something like that. You're saying the Philippine Navy itself can come in. And then, of course, there was also that suggestion you made that, pwede ka mag-park ng ano dyan, di ba? I don't know, oil rig dyan, or was that just a Scorpio? Or this idea of you can use a big tanker and then have some patrols around it. Like, ang dami pang pwedeng gawin, di ba? Like, we're at point 2, round 2 pa lang tayo, inisip na knockout, di ba? O na call a friend na kagad. So I think that's where that's where General Bronner comes in. Na last resort na yung US. Wait lang, dito pa tayo. So if you were to advise the government, let's say, again, with the limited facts we know or we can know about, ano pa yung mga ibang, in the ladder of escalation, anong step pa tayo at ano pang mga ibang step na easily maisip mo, Admiral?
Okay, if you look at it from a direct response, of course, yung pinag-usapan natin, pwede mong i-escalate yan in terms of the type of forces you deploy. So that's a direct response. Okay, so pwedeng mag-deploy ka na ng Philippine Navy doon to reinforce yung presence doon. Pwede ka mag-deploy ng Philippine Air Force aircraft. Okay. Ano mo siya, mag-air patrol ka doon. Show the flag yung Air Force natin around Sabina Shoal. Another one would be a cross-domain response. Cross-domain, meaning since this is basically a military security sector arena of domain of contention, tumingin tayo ng ibang tumingin tayo doon sa diplomatic, tumingin tayo sa economic, or tumingin tayo sa legal. So that's a cross-domain response na hindi pa natin explore. For example, kung talagang sige, sabi mo China, kami Pilipinas, pag hindi kayo dyan, we're taking ourselves out of that code of conduct negotiation with you, yung ASEAN and China. Kasi there's no point. Okay? There's no point. You are not an honest broker in this type of Okay? That's one. Pwede mo namang sabihin, optics-wise, sige, padala ka ng delegation sa Taiwan. Okay. Just to of course that will invoke a certain negative response from Beijing. But that's the point. You're trying to
Remind them that
we have other options. Okay. Dito. Para kantiin sila. Okay. Or we'll ask the Americans, can you deploy a second MRC capable MRC type system dito sa Palawan naman? Okay. And I believe that the MRC was discussed during yung last DCM nila. Okay. So sensitive sila doon eh. Kasi remember we have this discussion about escalation dominance ng China. The MRC actually would negate that dominance kasi that would give us an equal conventional capability na pwede tirahin yung mainland. Of course, that's an American system. They have full control of that. But the fact na nandito siya sa Pilipinas, tapos yung range niya is aabot sa mainland China, that itself creates a problem for them. Okay? So that's another one. Kumaga, hindi mo naman kailangan ang worry ko kasi minsan nagta-tunnel vision tayo. Pag may incident sa Sabina, parang Sabina yung tutok natin to the exclusion of anything else. Pag may nangyari second Thomas Shoal lang. Pag Scarborough. We must remember the entire West Philippine Sea is one theater of operations. Okay? Ang problema natin kasi dito, compared sa China, isa lang yung commander na handling South China Sea operations eh. Sa atin, you have NOLCOM for the Northern Luzon, you have WESCOM for Palawan, then the Coast Guard, may sariling rin yan, chain of command. Okay? So, may kanya-kanyang diskarte yun, and they're looking only at yung area na nakaharap sa kanila. They're not looking at the totality of the
silos
nila eh. Okay? So, those silos in itself create problems. Okay? Diba?
After all, kaya nga may National Task Force for West Philippine Sea and all of those things. But mahabang usapan na how this interagency coordination has been evolving, because a big part of this is also debates about communications, no? Sino ba talagang the spokesman on this issue? Ngayon, ang dami ng spokesman. Ngayon, yung defense secretary mo, naging DFA secretary na. Sinasabi openly, useless makipag-usap sa China na ginagamit na. Anyway, I talked to Secretary Manalo, of course, the other day dun sa One News show natin. People will watch that interview on Monday. In fairness naman, from his side, he gave a very nuanced view. You never give in. Diplomacy is not about compromising your core interests. It's about just saying if you can find some common ground to at least de-escalate tensions and give maybe peace a chance, no, and avoid war. Now, Admiral, going back to this, what is your read of the provisional agreement, whatever we had on Second Thomas Shoal? And the fact that itong pull out ng Teresa Magbanua came shortly after the BCM, the Bilateral Consultative Mechanism meeting in Beijing between the DFA and China. Because some are saying baka related to mga to, or some are also saying na, I think even Admiral Lopez at some point just threw out the idea that some are suggesting, not Navy, I don't know, baka DFA yun or something, na baka the model we used in Second Thomas Shoal could be applied across this integrated theater that we're discussing. What is your take on that? Because I know within our group of strategic thinkers, some take it some are very critical of this. And we also had Justice Scorpio on this show on multiple times, very, very critical of this. This idea of any kind of agreement or coordination. In fairness to DFA, they said we're not coordinating anything. It's at best an information exchange, but I think even that was too much for Justice Scorpio. I'm just trying to be fair and I'm listening to different sides. What is the Admiral Ong school of thought on this issue as far as diplomacy is concerned? Because we're talking about diplomacy as one of the tools of national statecraft.
Okay, let's go back to Second Thomas Shoal. No? Kasi parang yung immediate reaction natin, parang dihado tayo sa Second Thomas Shoal. Okay. But you must remember, ano ba yung objective ng China? Tanggalin yung Sierra Madre, di ba? Eventually, yun yung objective niya. Tanggalin yung, mawala yung Sierra Madre doon. Ano objective natin? Retain yung Sierra Madre kasi that's the one that sustaining yung ating positive, proactive control of that shoal. So, sino nanalo? Tayo eh. Sino nanalo?
China eh.
Sino nanalo nung June 17 incident? Okay, of course, may casualty tayo, may nasugatan. But sino yung nabukang tangarot? Hindi naman tayo eh. Sila eh.
Mga bully.
Kaya lang siyempre tayo, sometimes we overthink the situation. Parang tayo dihado rito ah. But if you calculate everything into that situation, I think tayo yung umangat naman doon eh. We are able to maintain yung control natin ng Second Thomas Shoal. That agreement or non-agreement by itself is actually a de-escalation ng kabilang side. Okay? A de-escalation ng kabilang side. Now, I think yung Sabina Shoal is also naman related to the BCM. Pero hindi yung BCM of arising from June 17. It's the BCM, the recent one. The recent BCM. Ang tingin ko, they were trying to resolve from their end yung situation sa Sabina Shoal by having Teresa Magbanua remove from that scene before the BCM. Yun yung target date nila. So related yun. There are times kasi yung actions, ito yung we should not be focused on what's happening at West Philippine Sea. Tapos we treat it as parang West Philippine Sea problem lang. Sometimes connected yan sa diplomatic track. Sometimes connected sa economic track yan. So in this case, ang theory ko lang dito, they were trying to resolve yung Sabina Shoal problem nila sa atin before the BCM. Para meron silang
to set the tone for the negotiations. No?
Kasi makabawi sila natin. Yung framing natin is na tayo yung angat doon sa BCM during the Second Thomas Shoal June 17 incident. So para makabawi sila, they need to resolve it from their end na sila yung lamang. Okay? So that means they need to put themselves in a stronger negotiating position before the BCM.
Kaya nga connected lahat yan eh. Military and diplomacy and all eh, di ba? Essentially, military affairs is the continuation of politics by other means, di ba? So I think people miss this point that these things are all interrelated. So far, who do you think is lamang? If ito ay boxing, let's say round 3 or 4 pa lang, you think the Philippines has so far come out better than China, you would say?
Ang problem ko kasi, Richard, is ano eh.
It's BBM, by the way. Of course, I'm not counting the Duterte disaster.
Okay, ito yung problem natin. We are confronted with the adversary that has a coherent strategy, and they are executing it, not perfect, but they are executing it according to yung ano nila, the way they understand the problem. They have gains, they have losses, but basically they are sustaining whatever is yung ano nila, position nila. Sa atin, I'm looking for that quote-unquote grand strategy natin dito sa West Philippine Sea, na I think whether it needs improvement or maybe it needs to be replaced, or for whatever counts, whatever that strategy is, maybe kailangan i-improve or maybe kailangan palitan. I don't know. Okay. Again, we're not privy to whatever yung nasa loob, yung ano yung
you must have confidential aspect.
Actualizing the entire thing, no? But yun yung nakita kong problema dito. Kaya there are times na parang reactive tayo sa situation. When in fact, ang kailangan dito, we need to be proactive.
Proactive, but also in terms of public opinion shaping, right? Because I know there are a lot of makapilis out there who want to make it look na dahado tayo, talo na tayo. Essentially, mag-give up na tayo, di ba? Yung fatalistic, kumbaga. Yung iba naman dyan sa kakulangan ng kaalaman, yung kanilang position na ay, yung pala, bugbog sarado pala tayo. At hindi nila naintindihan yung jiu-jitsu na ginagawa natin. We're trying to use China's force against itself. We're trying to have the weapon of the weak in our own favor. How do we prepare the public opinion? Obviously, this show is part of that, right? This little way of clarifying, actually, hindi tayo nag-surrender, hindi tayo talo. Pinapakita natin in different sides of this equation, the nuances, the sophistication of our strategy, the dilemmas and difficulties, right? Ikaw, Admiral, what is your read on that part?
Okay, I'm not sure if I mentioned in your show yung Red Theory Victory, no? But I know I've written about it. Yung Red Theory Victory is what the author, I forgot the name of the author, subscribes to us ano yung strategy that drives China and Russia, basically China-Russia. So yung Red Theory of Victory has two components. Number one, you can be successful in your contention, yung contention nyo, yung away nyo, if you are able to successfully divide yung kalaban mo. Yung mapag-away-away mo sila. Okay. Pangalawa is if you break the enemy's will. If you're able to successfully break the
enemy, win a fight without the fighting, yeah.
You will to fight, okay? So, yung sinasabi mong narrative na being propagated by both Beijing and yung makapili trolls natin dito sa Pilipinas, yun yung objective nun eh. Break yung will natin eh. Yung will to fight or will to fight for our interests. Okay? So, wini-whittle down yan to stop. And ang katapat niyan, again, ang complementary effort niya is yung exercise of China nung escalation dominance niya at sea. Okay? So kaya makita mo yung swarming tactics niya, yung coercive tactics niya, all are designed to break our will. Tapos tinatapatan o kino-complement siya ng propaganda nila. Okay? Huwag tayong papatalo doon. Okay? And I think your program is one way also showing na hindi tayo papatalo.
Our program and then my trolling of the trolling. Speaking of trolling, Admiral, let's get the ball rolling kasi may mga henyo na nagko-comment dito. Meron isang magandang quote, we can talk peace and have a gun. I mean, where do they pick up this idea? So ano yun, i-abolish natin yung military natin and let the Chinese walk over us. But I don't know where people get these ideas. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the people don't understand deterrence. People don't understand balance of military force. They don't understand. I mean, the more I do this, Admiral, the more my patience is tested, the more I realize we have to really start from the very beginning. It's not the lack of confidence, it's the confidence of people who lack knowledge and they talk about things as if they know what they're talking about. But going back to this, Admiral, one of the biggest problem we have is we have Makapilis who are shamelessly. Nakita ko may isang poster, hindi natin pangalanan tong mga to. Yung isa pretentious, yung isa kunyari may think tank, yung isa kunyari scholar, ganun. Sinama pa si General Luna. Sinama pa si Aguinaldo dun sa banner nila. Ito pa interesting. Sinama pa si Marcos Sr. Like, what? This is interesting. Like, who are these people? What are they trying to do? But unfortunate thing is, dahil yung mga supporters ng mga tayo, may malalaking trolls na prop up ng panahon ni Digong. Hindi ko sasabihin na troll farm mga yan or bots yung mga, but nevertheless, may konting influence ng mga, hindi ko na masabihin na walang iya, pero ano masabi mo dyan, Admiral?
Hey, welcome to cognitive warfare. Yan talaga yun eh. It's a battle of wills. Okay? Kaya sabi ko, huwag tayo papatalo. Okay? So far, kasi naman, if we go by past surveys of our reputable survey firms, 80 to 90% naman ng Filipinos support yung natin what we're fighting for sa West Philippine Sea, and of course yung position natin vis-a-vis China. Okay, so hindi naman matitibag yan hindi matitinag yan. Ang concern ko is yung ating political elites kasi sila yung vulnerable sila rin yung targeted talaga. Okay, yung political elites natin have a different dynamic altogether, and targeted sila. Okay. So yun yung kailangan natin protektahan although minsan hindi ka protekta, pero yun yung kailangan nating bantayan Kasi ultimately sila yung decision makers ng policy natin Okay.
So, Admiral, going back to this, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Ako kasi, sa tingin ko, BBM just doesn't have what it takes to get things across the line. So itong impeachment versus Sara, I think almost malabang mangyari yan. And if anything, Sara, kasi half-baked, yeah, I could use another term, but half-baked yung ginagawa ng administration ally. So mukhang naging biktima pa si Sara. And I think Sara, in her latest intervention, I don't know kung napanood mo yung ginawa niya kanina, I think she did a good job of course, reading from her cell phone. But nevertheless, pasok dun sa person niya na palaban, but at the same time, lumalabas, parang sila pa yung biktima. I think that's a very good strategy from them. And the crafting was very good. And essentially, she just poo-pooed yung whole hearing. Like, this is essentially Wishan. The joke to. Kung gusto niya ako impeach, go ahead. Let's see. Gusto niya matanggal budget ko, go ahead. Essentially, challenging them from a position of psychological or moral strength, at least in terms of PR and all of that. My point is, again, as Emerson Waldemar, if you strike at the king, you have to finish the job. And mukhang they're not gonna do that anytime soon. And mukhang malabo na they'll be able to knock out the Dutertes. And I think the Dutertes will be able to come back. They have a very strong Vismin base. There's a very strong troll farms backing their kind of message. I'm not saying they're related. Wala akong sinasabi. I'm just saying it's just coincidental. Love na love sila ng mga makapili natin kaibigan na pretentious na geopolitical expert bigla, tapos may kung ano ng kapihan. May anong gatherings na meron sila. Okay, the question is this, Admiral. To what degree is the presence of Duterte as a major political force in the Philippines a constant obstacle to us developing a national strategy and a national coherence to deal with the magnitude of challenge we're facing from China? Right? I put it in a very stark term. Pwede mo sabihin, Admiral, sorry, di ko narinig, Richard, the internet is not working. No, but you get what I'm saying? Because some would say, as long as the Dutertes are around, as long as they can come back to power, as long as they're, heartbeat away from power, as long as they're as influential on the national stage, talagang malabo sa Pilipinas, malabo na China will respect us because they know they have proxies here who can come back to Malacanang anytime soon. And malabo magkakaroon ng national coherence because they'll constantly create confusion. So, you're right. The surveys say 80-90% want us na mas matapang, ganun-ganun. But napansin ko rin, madali rin tayo mamanipulate ng mga fearmongers. Medyo minsan madali sila mag-spread ng fatalism. or yung mga ibang makapili natin, ay sayang naman yung negosyo, sayang naman yung business, sayang naman yung mga hindi naman dumating na investment. Pero yung mga ganitong mga hapyaw na Squid Games, mga ganon. What is your take on this, Admiral?
Alam mo, Richard, yung line of question
Parang
na yan,
na-stress ka sa tanong ko.
that's my nightmare scenario. That's my nightmare scenario. Kasi ganito eh. Most of my career have ups and downs, and it's with respect to yung history natin eh. We came in to the service, ang bungad namin pinasabog yung grandstand sa PMA in 87. Okay. And that was our introduction to the public service. Okay. Pinasabog yung grandstand namin. Then there was the succession of yung coup d'etat. Okay. So we yung maturation process namin napabilis. And it was not in a very how you say it, ideal working environment that we do in. But over the years, ang at least for me, ang thinking ko is I would suffer a bad president rather than have the armed forces involved in another political exercise. Okay, kasi that's short. Kasi in the times that it has involved itself in the political exercise, the effect was worse than the kumbaga, the cure was worse than the problem itself. Okay? And we've seen that. Kumbaga, you've tried to short circuit the process, and eventually parang pinangunahan mo yung proseso. Okay? But having said that, there is that pinasok sa constitution natin that the armed forces is the protector of the people and defender of the state. Okay. But my understanding is if there are situations na the state itself is the problem, the armed forces, by the nature of ang default niya is protect the people. Okay. So and that is the nightmare scenario na nakikita ko na pupuntahan natin if we have a situation na yung politics natin is leaning towards a situation na yung national interest natin will be compromised.
Na mag-step ng mga forces sa tingin mo this time?
Remember, the only thing that prevented the pivot to China was in the last 6 years there was no buy-in from the armed forces. The only thing that protected the alliance with the United States was even below the radar, the armed forces protected the alliance, even if the political leadership was hell-bent on actually discarding that alliance. And the only reason why China is taking the effort actually to parang ligawan yung armed forces was because nakita nila that's the one holding the center. Okay? That's the one holding the center during those previous 6 years. So yung line of questioning mo is yung nightmare scenario ko na sana hindi natin puntahan. And sana bago dumating yung 2028, yung ating political leaders, imperfect as they may be, but I hope they yung gagawin nila yung kanilang trabaho is wag nila paabutin yung 2028 na papasok tayo sa situation na yung we have to choose. Parang the cure that time na worst case scenario na nakita ko.
Yeah.
We'll have
the cure that kills the patient, the medicine that kills the patient. Yeah.
Yeah, even if the intention was good, the effect is totally problematic for us. So yun lang.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these are very serious issues we're talking about now. So we're towards the end of this episode, Admiral, and I'm sure we'll have more and more conversation about this as elections comes and things get more heated and foreign policy issues come in. Now, our American friends are discussing Trump proofing, right? I don't know how successful they're going to be, but at least there's some conversation about how to Trump proof their domestic institutions, their foreign policy orientation to make sure that even if another Trump comes back, there's a degree of continuity that doesn't undermine American democracy and national interest. Now, good luck with that, because I expect a lot of crazy things to happen if Trump comes back. But here in the Philippines, how can we Duterte-proof our country, for the lack of better term? Diba? I mean, that's the challenge, diba? Bakit mo pa hintayin ng 2028 or something weird to happen and they will come back to Malacanang sooner than 2028, right? You have to prove things as early as now, right?
Well, there are other components of society that are going to be affected by that. Kailangan mag-step up. If government is one thing, for one reason or another, then there's still civil society. Okay. Number po kasi problema natin yung people will vote on their stomach eh. Kung ano yung what will resolve yung issue nila, yung pangkabuhayan nila. Okay. And for some reason, they gravitate towards populist leaders kasi yun yung nangangako na magaling eh. So unless we drastically change the way we do politics in the Philippines, this is going to be siguro very challenging moving towards 2028.
But are there things we can do with our constitution, with, I don't know, some of the things we can do to make sure na there are enough adults in the room, even if there's a new president na questionable? Because of course, we cannot tell voters who to vote for. And hindi nag-work yung mga voters' education, charot na yan.
I'm going to make it more
critical thinking. Like education, basic education. Dapat siguro inculcate yung West Philippine Sea awareness as early as first grade, diba? Or something like that.
I'll give a more complicated situation for you. Kasi ang tingin ko, the battleground between China and the Philippines is not West Philippine Sea. It's our electoral process. Kasi that's the cheapest way of subjugating the Philippines. Not through force of arms, kasi that entails a messy scenario for China with the international community.
But weaponizing our democratic institutions and all.
If they are able to politically interfere in our politics, and particularly in our electoral process for 2025 and 2028, good for them. Kasi that's the cheapest way. Okay? And in fact, if you read between the lines, yung mga pronouncements attributable to political leaders that are identified with the previous administration. And I think Sec Ronald has mentioned about this. Is yung line of narrative nila is towards regime change, immediate regime change, di ba? Okay. Now, since they were not able to pull that through, of course, ang next option nila is 2025. Okay. Then last option will be 2028. But I think between now and 2028, nandun pa rin yung regime change scenario in play pa rin yan.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's also the aspect of we have to have treason laws for peacetime. I mean, some people are not just expressing contrarian views. I'm all for contrarian views. I love debating and all of that. But some people seem to be doing something more fishy than just expressing contrarian views. Masyadong consistent yung sinasabi nila sa sinasabi ng embahada ng isang bansa. Masyadong nag-align yung sinasabi nila sa mga talking points galing sa Zhongnanhai or something like that. Perhaps sharpening our counter sharp power malign influence operations laws is the natural way forward, no? Inevitably, that raises questions also about TikTok. Actually, I didn't go live on TikTok right now because I wonder about their censorship also of this kinds of conversation.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there were previous studies that we have actually submitted to security services. Yung proposal namin on, I think we're working on it actually. Yung proposal for a foreign interference law, then a review of yung existing Foreign Agent Registration Act of 1979. I think that would be good, okay, to make it more relevant. But of course, ang challenge is putting guardrails para it will not be abused. Okay? And of course, yung espionage law nga, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Not World War II, pre-World War II.
Spanish. Spanish.
I think 1930s yan eh. Kasabay yun nung National Defense Academy. Halos kasabay.
Pero parang kay Aguinaldo, ina-apply kila Aguinaldo level yung mga ganyan. It's insane. Yun nga there's so many basic assignments na hindi pa natin nagawa hanggang ngayon. I always say, yes, surveys are encouraging. Yes, na the fact na 10 tao lang nanonood doon sa isang kapihan ng mga makapili. Yeah, pwede natin sila pagtawanan. Yes, mga Dutertes may look weak now. Yes, bubugsarado sila. But ako, I never underestimate the ability of these kinds of people to regain power. And to be honest, also, I don't underestimate the power of populism, even the toxic form of populism that we're seeing right now. Siguro, you never know. Baka one of the Tulfo brothers will save us from the Dutertes. I'm being sarcastic, by the way. I think people didn't get. Hindi nagigets ng tao talagang sarcasm natin minsan. Ayan. Salamat, Admiral Ong for that comprehensive discussion. It's quite sobering kasi mahirap siya. But I think if there's a good takeaway, what do you think is a good takeaway from what we're seeing so far? If there's something that gives you hope, Admiral, or something that is hopeful that we can build on in the next 2 or 3 years, what are those things, Admiral? I think we discussed a lot of the bad and the ugly, but let's talk about the good or some of the good things. Without, this is not an endorsement of BBM, obviously, dun sa mga kadidiyas natin na ingit ngayon. This is just our discussion about Philippine national interest and maturation of our strategic culture.
I think isa lang naman don't shortchange the Filipinos. Don't lose faith. I think at the end of the day, we can still count on them. Ordinary Filipinos will rise up and fight for our interests. It just takes siguro an unusual brand of leadership, not from the usual suspects, but maybe from somewhere. Hindi natin alam . But of course, on our side, yung sa atin naman, those who are students of history and students of current events, I think ang challenge sa atin is how to just hold the line. Hold the line until para for the rest of the Filipinos makahabol ko. But I think at the end of the day, we can still count on them.
Yeah, thank you so much. On that positive, very diplomatic note, baka may bakante dyan sa DFA, recommend kita, Admiral. No, I'm just kidding. That was very nice of you. Very nice. Very good. Very demure. Very mindful. Very Gen Z. Maraming salamat, Admiral, on that very positive and polite point. I was expecting a little bit more fireworks, but don't worry. I will juice that out. Bukas, of course, join us for a discussion naman with Justice Carpio. And baka magkakaroon ng cameo by Lord De Vera. We're not sure, but you never know. You never know. We have a very diverse audience, and we're bringing in more comedians and witty people into our shows to get the ball rolling. Salamat, Admiral Ong. Do you have a new writing or something you want to recommend to people to read?
We're working on a paper. If you remember, I invited you pero you did not join last year.
Ano yan? Ano yan?
May 15. Kayo ni Christian, invite ko nun . But I think you were somewhere else.
Oh, yeah. I
was
was out of country in and out, yeah.
We were working on a West Philippine Sea strategy. So, patapos na yung paper. Ang title na actually is The Filipino Theory of Victory. How do we...
Oh, nice. This is the counterpoint to that red theory, Chinese theory of victory. Parang yun ang pang-debate mo. Good repost.
So, we're finishing it. It's under editorial review.
Ako na lang magsulat ng forward, charot. Parang doon pa rin ako, parang forward by the
we'll be presenting it on, I think, mid-October.
Fantastic. So I think hopefully on our next episode together, Admiral, God willing, we can talk a little bit about the book, either just before to hype excitement or just right after. And perhaps if you have copies that we can promote on our shows, more than happy to do that, Admiral. Thank you for your leadership, Admiral. Thank you for your friendship. Of course, feeling close naman ako sa lahat ng guests natin . May mga nag-bash sa akin. My colleague, Ambassador Romualdez, syempre may nag-comment, bakit? Paano kayo naging colleague? Hindi nila alam. He's a columnist on Philippine Star, so we can call each other colleagues in that sense. Pero sige na nga, sabihin nyo, feeling ako. Thank you so much, Admiral, for that fantastic conversation, and looking forward to catching up in person and catching your new fantastic work and your patriotic contribution to the country. Maraming salamat po. God bless.
Bye.
Salamat po. Thank you.